Hey guys, welcome back to CLOWNFISH TV. This is Kneon. We're going to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I haven't really talked about it too much because I'm not sure exactly how I feel about it. I haven't downloaded the demo yet. There are reviews out there for it. We're going to talk about that. Polygon's got a review up, and it seems to confirm what a lot of us have suspected, which is Final Fantasy VII Remake is basically Final Fantasy 16, but with Final Fantasy VII characters. It's a completely new game. It's a reboot. It is a reboot. In fact, One Angry Gamer put an article out there the other day talking about how the ending completely rewrites events and reboots the story. This sounds to me kind of like Rebuild of Evangelion, the movies, where the first film is basically one-to-one with the animated series, and then it goes off into a totally different direction. I'm not sure that's really what I want to see. Again, this feels more like Final Fantasy 16 than it does Final Fantasy VII, but you know, these characters are the most marketable, the most bankable that Square has, and Square, frankly, you know, is very good at just going back to the well year over year. They keep going back and remaking every damn game they've ever made instead of really making new stuff. I mean, they just came out with Trials of Mana, for crying out loud. Like, nobody asked for a 3D remake of Trials of Mana, but there it is. So we're going to talk about that in the video. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants. We're over 100,000 subs, guys. The support is appreciated. Thank you. So this is coming from One Angry Gamer, and then we're going to go out there and talk about some of the other stuff going on with Final Fantasy VII Remake about 10-15 years later than people expected it to come out. According to One Angry Gamer, according to leaks, it actually reboots the story. So people are excited about the release of Final Fantasy VII Remake on April 10th. But if you're hoping for a faithful recreation of the original, that's not what the new game is. In fact, it's a complete reboot. A complete reboot, and there is some supporting evidence in the reviews that this is actually what's going on. Everything changes. It goes without saying that this article contains spoilers. I imagine there are going to be some idiots out there claiming that they read the entire thing and are angry it didn't warn people about spoilers. The game is 20 years old. But again, we're talking about being completely rebooted with new story elements, so I'll give you the same warnings. There are spoilers. Final Fantasy VII Remake released early in Europe and Australia for retailers due to coronavirus. Instead of risking further manufacturing disruption due to the quarantine, they decided to put the game out early in other regions, which resulted in people live streaming it and uploading content to YouTube. The cinematic leading up to the ending scene and just before the big fight with Sephiroth was uploaded to a dummy account and is available for viewing below. I'll probably get a copyright strike on this one. So we do get pretty far into the game. Of course, you know, this one's going to have multiple chapters in true Square fashion. You're going to pay a lot. The video showcases what should have happened in Crisis Core, but how now the timeline is altered, which then leads into a fight involving Cloud, Aerith, and others taking on Sephiroth. User Leon Eve Lake posted nearly 10 minutes of the ending sequence following the events from the video above, recorded off screen so you know it's not fake. And there are a lot of changes to the game. You can watch it below. I'm not going to play it. I don't want a copyright strike. So there's a backup here on Catbox. I don't know. For 5 years, Square Enix said they were remaking Final Fantasy VII. They said it was expanded but faithful, that was locked in step with the original, and that they didn't add a subtitle because they didn't want to give the impression it was a spin-off or sequel. The users who watched it were none too pleased with how much of a divergence the ending of the remake is from the original, especially given all the changes that were made. This was reflected in the user rating. Yeah, people didn't seem to be too happy. There are a host of other changes, including what looks like a possible alternate story development involving Zack and Aerith. Based on the video, it appears as if Zack may survive in the alternate timeline because the team defeated what are known as Whispers of Fate, which tried to maintain dimensional balance, almost like the Watchers from the Marvel Universe. But with the Whispers defeated, the timeline was altered, and it means the story is tossed up into the air. There's an outline of all the major story-related changes that take place, completely changing the events of the game and basically confirming this is an alternate universe reboot rather than a remake. It is Rebuild of Evangelion, Final Fantasy Edition. It's basically Final Fantasy 16 with Final Fantasy VII characters, if that's what's going on. Now, there are going to be some people screaming, it's fake news or Square never promised this was a remake. Yeah, it is. It's called Final Fantasy VII Remake. It's called Final Fantasy VII Remake. Of course, it's implied strongly it's a remake, or any number of excuses, but the game is titled Final Fantasy VII Remake, yes. And most people are under the impression it was supposed to be a faithful remake. I thought it was. As soon as I saw the battle system, I'm like, oh, guys, this is a completely new game. Because, you know, I thought what they were going to do, I'll be honest, I thought what they were going to do is keep everything pretty much intact, just beef up the graphics. I thought it was going to be turn-based. I thought they were going to pretty much keep it beat for beat, maybe add a couple of things here and there, but I did not expect them to just completely throw the old game out. So what we're getting instead is a complete reimagining, alternate story and all. This now puts into perspective why Nomura was warning people not to spoil the game, because this really isn't the Final Fantasy VII you grew up knowing and loving. This is a completely different game, even aside from the ethics department and censorship nonsense. Of course, we're talking about Tifa bouncing. That's, you know, it's alternate universe Tifa, so she doesn't bounce as much. If it's also true there will be multiple parts, then everything that happens from here on is completely uncharted territory. What Square should have done is named it Final Fantasy VII Spiritus Novalis or something. Yeah, you know, that's it. Sad these days gamers expect that when they purchase remakes, they're getting actual remakes just with better visuals, quality of life improvements, and updated gameplay mechanics, but instead they're getting completely different games posing as the original. Yeah, you know, I gotta tell you, I mean, I'm kind of sort of still interested in the game, but I'm really not. I saw the gameplay, and I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, it looks cool. It's cool to see these characters. I grew up, you know, loving these characters, but, you know, this is not a straight-up remake. And if you read some of the early reviews, going out here to Polygon, we've literally done a 180 from One Angry Gamer. Now we're out here at Polygon. But it is a reimagining, flawed but fascinating reimagining of a classic. And they talk about keeping what works, but they talk about some other storylines. They have entire storylines with new characters that didn't exist in the original. For instance, there's an entirely new quest that finds you learning a great deal about a character named Leslie, who didn't even appear in the original game at all, and who works in the service of Don Corneo. So where a remake does do some great work is enriching our understanding of characters from the original games. You know, and then they talk about how great the trans representation is. I guess, you know, it's like the scene was supposed to be played for a joke in the original, but I guess they're taking it a little more seriously current year. Cloud. I wondered about that. You know, I'm very surprised they actually kept this scene in. I'll be honest. I thought they were going to cut this scene for sure, because I'm like, there's no way this is going to pass. But there it is. Cloud is then transformed into a vision of beauty by Rhodia's crew in an upbeat, sexy scene when Rhodia tells our newly transformed hero that true beauty is a thing without shame, and Cloud should never be afraid of it. My withered transgender heart grew 3 sizes. As an out-of-touch joke is turned to a sincere and fun moment of growth and expression in the remake, which is quite a tonal shift from the original game, a tremendously welcome one. Well, yeah, it was played for laughs in the original. It was like, oh, look, Cloud's dressed like a girl, and he's got to run around the bed and try not to get fondled. Hee hee ha ha, you know. But this is like the least of the changes. It seems like it's going to be a completely different game. Supposedly multiple chapters. In true Square fashion, it will take like 4 years to get the whole game, and it's probably going to wind up costing you like $300. Who knows? This is Square's business model now. We basically just remake games. Remake old games, reimagine old games. We have lots of DLC now. You know, when was the last time Square did a completely original game? I can't even remember. Everything is a sequel or a spin-off. They become kind of the Disney of Japanese RPGs, haven't they? There's not a whole lot of original stuff at Square anymore. But just be prepared, guys. You know, if you buy this game, it may not be the same game you remember from 20 plus years ago. But maybe Cloud will be more vulnerable. Because, you know, Cloud was a toxic male, and he needs to be more vulnerable, because Final Fantasy VII was important because it let its men be vulnerable. Whatever the remake changes, it mustn't forget the deconstruction of toxic masculinity that made Cloud such a special hero. Yeah, I think they deconstructed his toxic masculinity. alright. I think they did. So, alright guys, I'm going to wrap this one up. Please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and be prepared for a very different Final Fantasy VII experience. Talk later. Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.